He smiled when he stole everything from me, and I smiled when I took it all back. I've always believed that betrayal doesn't come from strangers. It comes from the people you hand the keys of your soul to. And I gave those keys to my brother, Eli. The name still tastes like rust in my mouth. We grew up side by side in a 3-story house built by our grandfather on the edge of a quiet town in Virginia. The house wasn't just a house, it was a symbol, a legacy carved in oak and stone, a place where every photo on the wall had a story and every floorboard remembered our footsteps. Eli was the golden boy, charismatic. Sharp jawline, easy smile, the kind of guy who could walk into a room and have people eating out of his hand in seconds. And me? I was the quiet one, the one who stayed up late running the numbers, fixing the pipes, making sure the business our father left behind stayed afloat. I didn't envy him, I loved him. I trusted him with everything. When Dad died, the family's assets were split between us, the house, the trucking business, and some inherited land worth more than I wanted to admit. Eli handled the people side of things. I handled the boring stuff. It worked. It always worked, or at least I thought it did. It began unraveling 2 summers ago. I remember the day like it was branded into my skull. I came home from a 3-day run to Atlanta. The house was quiet, except for the sound of rain tapping the old windows. I walked into the kitchen, and on the table sat a thick, cream-colored envelope, Eli's handwriting. Inside was a legal notice, a court order. It said that I'd willingly signed over my share of the house and business to Eli. I froze. The paper was crisp, real, notarized, with my signature scrawled at the bottom. My name was on it, but I had never signed anything like that in my life. I went numb, and then I saw the date on the bottom, the day I was in Atlanta. He deforged it. My own brother. I went to him that night, still soaked from the rain, paper shaking in my hands. He sat in his leather chair, sipping whiskey like he was waiting for me. His smile was wide, rehearsed. "Come on, Nate," he said, almost laughing. "Don't look so shocked. You always hated the spotlight anyway. This is cleaner. You'll get your payout. You'll be free." Free, like I was some burden he'd finally shed. I told him I'd fight it, that I'd take it to court. He leaned back, still calm, and slid a manila folder across the table. Inside were photos, my signature on old contracts, bank transfers I didn't remember authorizing. Doctored documents, all airtight, all ready to make me look like a man who'd handed everything over willingly. I remember my heart pounding so hard it felt like it cracked ribs. He'd planned it, for months, maybe years. When I stood up, I saw it in his eyes, that kind of cold satisfaction you only see in people who have convinced themselves they're the hero of their own betrayal. That night, I left the house, not as a brother, not as an owner, just as a ghost. The months that followed were a blur. I lost the house, I lost the business. Eli charmed the board, the lawyers, even my mother, said I wanted out, said I was tired. And everyone believed him because that's what Eli did best. He made people believe. I moved into a rundown apartment near the train tracks, the kind of place where the wallpaper peels like old scabs. I worked night shifts at a warehouse just to keep my head above water. I'd stare at the ceiling for hours, replaying every conversation we'd ever had. Every time he'd said, "Trust me." Betrayal isn't just losing what you had. It's losing the world you thought you lived in. I didn't plan revenge at first. I planned to disappear. But life has a way of setting fires where you least expect. 6 months in, I got a call from Marcy, the company's old accountant. She'd been let go after Eli took over. We met in a diner off the highway. She slid into the booth, hair messy, hands shaking like she'd been looking over her shoulder too long. "I kept copies of everything," she whispered. She showed me records, cleaned up books, forged statements, shell accounts. Eli hadn't just stolen from me. He'd been draining company funds, stashing money offshore, hiding behind fake vendors. "He thinks he's too smart to get caught," Marcy said. "But he's not as smart as he thinks." That night, something inside me shifted. I'd spent half a year sinking into the mud of self-pity, but now I had something sharp in my hands. Something real. Eli took everything from me, and I was going to take everything back, not with fists, not with lawyers, with precision. I spent weeks watching him, not in some dramatic trench coat way, no, just quietly. He'd moved into the old family house, renovated it, held parties, dinners, the kind of loud, shiny life people build when they're terrified of silence. I took a job as a driver for one of the company's subcontractors, the kind Eli didn't bother to pay attention to. I learned the new routes, the supply chains, the books, who he trusted, who he stepped on. I became a shadow in his kingdom, and shadows see everything. Eli had grown greedy. He expanded the business too fast, leveraged everything he could to fund his empire. He'd wrapped himself in a web of loans, fake invoices, and private deals. One wrong thread pulled, and the whole thing would collapse, so I started pulling. I hacked into his vendor system, not myself. I paid a quiet, nervous kid from the warehouse who liked Red Bulls and not asking questions. We found accounts Eli never declared. Transactions timed down to the minute. Offshore wires. He'd been careful, but not careful enough. Then came the board. Eli had charmed most of them, but they were sharks. They followed the scent of blood and profit. I leaked just enough to make them nervous. Anonymous tips. Documents in the mail, numbers that didn't add up. Paranoia spreads like smoke in a dry room. Then I went for the kill shot. The family estate, the land. It wasn't just sentimental. It was collateral for almost every loan he'd taken out. And tucked in a dusty file in Marcy's old desk, I found something Eli had missed. Our father had set a clause years ago. A failsafe. If the estate was used as collateral and the company defaulted, the property would revert to the original co-owner, which was me. But only if certain conditions were met. I spent 2 months setting the dominoes in line, creating just enough financial turbulence that Eli's empire started trembling. When the board turned on him, the loans came calling. And when the loans came calling, he scrambled. For the first time since the night of the betrayal, I saw fear in his eyes. But he didn't know it was me. Not yet. The night it all burned down, there was a storm. Fitting, right? It always rains when the world ends. I walked into the house, my house, while Eli was screaming into a phone in his study. He didn't see me at first. He was too busy begging a banker not to call in a loan he couldn't cover. Nate, he finally said, spinning around, eyes bloodshot, hair slick from running his hands through it. What the hell are you doing here? I didn't answer. I just walked deeper into the room, let the thunder drown out the silence. It's all falling apart, he said, half laughing, half desperate. You have no idea what they're doing to me. The board, the banks, it's a goddamn feeding frenzy. I tilted my head. Sounds familiar. He froze. That's when he saw it in my eyes. Recognition, revenge, and fear. He lunged toward me like the brother I used to know. We can fix this, Nate. We can rebuild, just like old times, you and me. I cut him off with a laugh I didn't even recognize as my own. Old times, you forged my name, Eli. You made me watch my whole life get ripped out of my hands. His voice cracked. I did what I had to do. You did what was easy, I hissed. But here's the thing, Eli, you built your empire on my foundation. And when I take it away, I stepped closer, my voice a whisper, it all crumbles. He stumbled back. What the hell did you do? I tossed a folder onto the desk. Inside were the deeds, the loan terms, the failsafe clause. When the bank seizes the assets tomorrow, the land comes back to me. Without the land, your collateral vanishes. Without collateral, they'll strip you down to the bones. Eli's breath came in sharp bursts. I could see him calculating, panicking, unraveling. You caw, he whispered. You can't do this to me. No, brother, I said softly. I already did. The house felt smaller as I walked out. The storm followed me down the steps. By morning, the company folded. The board dumped him like a rotten weight. The banks carved him up. His accounts were frozen. The house, my house, was mine again. And Eli was left with nothing but the echo of his own lies. But revenge isn't just about taking back what's yours. It's about making them feel what you felt. And when I saw him standing on the curb a week later, clothes wrinkled, pride shattered, watching movers empty out his things into the rain, I saw it. That same cold satisfaction he'd once shown me. Except this time it was mine. People say blood is thicker than water. They forget blood can stain too. I stood on the porch, arms crossed, as he turned to me one last time. Was it worth it? He rasped. I held his gaze, steady as the storm clouds clearing above us. Every damn second. And then I closed the door. Now every night the house is quiet again, not the kind of quiet that aches. The kind that breathes, the kind that belongs to me. Enjoyed the story? Hit like, share with your friends, and subscribe. More gripping tales are coming your way soon.